Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Sierfoss Miller, local judge, and welcome to another episode of Epic Interviews, where we interview people who just might be epic. It looks a little different today. We're in scenic my office, and I have Zan Syed. I
Say
always
it.
Syed.
Yep, perfect.
Zan won the Standard Open in New York, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for thank you for having me.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy week. And the weekend was kind of unbelievable. I did not have the expectation of winning the tournament going into the tournament because I built the deck so last minute.
Mm-hmm.
But my teammates trusted me um, in this uh, last minute creation, and I'm glad they did because we got some phenomenal results.
Yeah, you and Abe both made top eight. I believe he placed
Yep.
third or fourth.
Yeah, he top forward,
Mm-hmm.
and then I ended up winning the tournament.
There you go. All right. So, before we get into the specifics of your deck and this open, obviously people can see the deck right next to me. Let's talk about you as a Magic player. How long have you been playing Magic?
So I actually started playing back in 2010 or 11ish, somewhere around there, when I first came to college for my undergrad, and my roommates, my randomly selected roommates played Magic, and they would ask me to come play with them, and they'd hand me a white weenie deck, and they would play actually a Super Friends deck against me. It was one of the original Super Friends decks. It was like Jace the Mind Sculptor, Venser,
Oh
Gideon,
wow.
yeah, and they would beat the crap out of me.
I'm just having an old person moment. I started in Ice Age.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. So what back then when you were still playing casually before, doing SCGs, before all that, what was your favorite strategy to sit down at the kitchen table?
Um, I didn't really have an option. I just played the white deck, but I did end up getting uh, getting kind of frustrated having to play this crappy deck that they had. And when New Phyrexia came out, I decided that I wanted to build blue green infect, which wasn't a a dominating strategy at the time. People thought that it would be more black green because they had access to a card like Phyrex. There was like Phyrexian Crusader, I think. It was a black
Yeah.
colorless pro red and white. Um, and I decided to build around Blighted Agent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was like one of the first decks that I kind of built around. I just looked up a bunch of random pump spells. It was a really easy strategy for me to kind of figure out on my own.
Okay.
And then I started beating the Super Fence deck pretty consistently.
That's pretty nice. I mean, obviously, Infect has done well with you in the past. I think it
Yep.
was Atlanta
Yep.
you won with
Yeah, I wanna
Infect.
yeah, I wanna open with Infect in modern. So yeah, that deck
Mm-hmm.
never kind of really left me even after the kitchen table times.
No one ever stops putting poison counters on their opponent.
Yeah, it's true.
Awesome. I guess Team Lotus Box. Do you have a specific product like sponsor, or do you get to use kind of whatever sleeves and boxes you want?
So, yeah, we don't have a specific sponsor uh, for sleeves or what do you call it, deck boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Our sponsors are mainly for Magic Online, so that's like MTGO traders.
Mm-hmm.
We have Introspective, who deals with like our jerseys and manufacturing, and they have a fashion brand. You can check out their fashion brand on, I think, introspective.com,
Oh man,
and
the link will be in the description.
down below. Yep. And what do you call it? Our main sponsor is Cardboard Live,
Mm-hmm.
who if you guys haven't seen SEG
They
coverage or GP
really
coverage,
cool.
they do Twitch apps. So
Hmm.
those are Cardboard Life is our main sponsor, and then we have Red Handed Art who designs our like New Jerseys, like the art portion of it.
Hmm.
Um, so for now, those are our main sponsors. We
So
don't have one for like we don't have like Ultimate Guard or anything like that.
so that being said, what is your current favorite sleeve that's on the market? What
Favorite
gets the
sleeve on
what's
the
gets the
market.
Zan stamp of approval?
Well, this was my first weekend using the new katana sleeves from
Hmm.
Ultimate Guard, and the first time I used them, I won a tournament with them. So I would have to say they're one for one.
There
So
you
I'd probably
go.
go with those right now. But I also love the Dragon Shield arts. But I'm gonna give
Hmm.
Katana this one because I won the tournament with the
I mean,
Katanas.
there you go. Then all of a sudden, they're still out of stock most places, so we just see a secondary market price spike.
Really?
Hopeful.
Wow, that's
No,
insane.
just because of this conversation.
Oh wow, no, that would be great. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Um, all right. So, other than that, so you are the captain for Team Lotus Box.
Yes, I am.
What was the major change in going from a single magic player, like a singular magic player, to a magic player that's part of and then being in charge of a team of tournament grinders?
Well, later in my college career, I decided that I didn't want to go down the normal path and work for anybody. And I looked at my life and I looked at it and I was like, what are things that are important to me? And magic stood out. And basically, it started with how can I make magic my full-time thing? And streaming was just starting to come about. Um, and I wanted to work on the product side of things. So I came up with the idea of Lotus Box, a monthly subscription box
Mm-hmm.
for Magic, um, and as a way for me to get like the Magic like sleeves cheaper to people. But I realized quickly that nobody would want to buy from somebody who they don't who they haven't heard of. So I decided to create a team. And creating a team was, you know, there was a lot of reasons besides the product side of things. I always felt that even though I was playing on a high level in Magic and I had just like top 8 at 2 GPs, it was hard for me to fit in with the mainstream pros at the time. There was kind of a barrier between us and like the grinders and the actual professional Magic players,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to break that barrier. I wanted to be in that position. I felt that my magic ability was good enough to put me in a position to change that, and so started recruited like 10 people for the original Team Lotus box, and um, yeah, we started to do well on the SCG tour, and season after season, um, it became undeniable that we were the best team on the tour.
And you have, as a team, put up quite a few finishes, especially lately. You have been absolutely on fire. Um, the team is a little smaller now, I believe.
Yep.
It's a.
Yep. So we have downsized to 6 people.
Mhm.
So it is Abe Corrigan,
Mhm.
Evan Whitehouse were our two newest additions. Then we have Cat Light, Dylan Donegan, Jonathan Rossum, who are now seasoned veterans,
Mhm.
and then myself.
Yeah, and it's just an absolute powerhouse of a team. With all the newer teams coming up in the SCG tour specifically, how do you feel as kind of the an older guard team, perhaps?
I feel excited that we have helped these teams, like helped in as in like kind of pave the way. We want these teams. We want more teams to continue to come onto
Hmm.
the tour because it's it's better for everybody, and hopefully we start getting seeing more team things come about, like maybe sort of prize structure for being the best performing team, and have our own competitions as well. But watching these teams grow, it's truly great. And if anybody's listening to this and they're part of one of these newer teams and they want to reach out, I mean, you can reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook. I'd be happy to give my 2 cents, because when I first started Team Lotus Box, there weren't very many teams around. I think
Hmm.
there was Team Metagame Gurus who really helped, who inspired me to take the risk of creating a team, and of course, I think there was Card Hoarder
Hmm.
at the time. So we were like one of the first three teams around.
Well, hopefully, that does get you some people. I'm not gonna lie, maybe like 10 people will watch this video.
It doesn't matter. It'll grow.
Yep. So let's talk about moving forward. Let's talk about this open specifically. Now, this is your second time winning an open, I believe.
Yep, this is my second time. The
Mm.
first time was in Atlanta
Yep.
with InBev team.
So before we start talking about the deck itself, different did it feel winning a standard open than a modern open?
Well, this deck felt a lot standard. Well, I feel like there are many ways that you can win a standard open, but winning a standard open with a deck like this was it was different. It was different because it felt like a totally different archetype. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we really we've had planeswalkers in decks before, but it's rare to see a deck that has 19 planeswalkers, and such a metagame shift from week one to week two. So it felt like a little bit more. When I won with Infect, it was like, yeah, Zan won with Infect,
Mm-hmm.
and when I won with this deck, it really showcased uh, my ability to build decks and uh, like evaluate uh, a really fast changing metagame. So it definitely felt like I accomplished more this time around than last
Mm-hmm.
time.
How do you feel Arena is affecting the pace of the standard metagame?
It's really fast. It's probably the fastest it's ever been. Um, and I remember week one, I decided to play mono red based on Arena. One of the reasons was Arena, because Arena was moving at such a fast pace. I believe that the general public was going to be much better prepared for these tournaments, and so I decided to play red. And the targeted deck was blue green nexus. So basically, Team Lotus Box split up into two groups: the red side, or the blue green nexus side. And after that tournament, uh, you know, the side that was on blue green nexus really looked at what happened and accepted that it's gonna standard is gonna be forever different
Mm-hmm.
and much faster, moving a lot faster.
All
And so
right.
that's why we ended up at Jessica.
All right. So let's look at the deck specifically. I have it to my right there, and I have the list in front of me. So you do have, it looks like 18 planeswalkers in the build that you won with.
Oh yeah.
You have Narset, Sahili, Teferi, Time Raveler as a four of, Karn, Sarkin the Masterless, which I am so glad he sees play,
Yeah.
and one Teferi Hero of Dominaria.
Yeah.
When you were building this deck, were these the walkers that you started with, or did you just start at the concept of I want a lot of walkers and then figure out what you want, or did you just happen to want to play a lot of planeswalkers?
Um. So when I first started testing this deck, um, so I had initially seen the first list of week one from Ben Reagan, who had worked on it with Zach Elsick. It was like a uh, blue white planeswalker deck with Fibblethip.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I got a list from Lee McLeod, who's a local here in North Carolina, where I'm at, who I've worked on decks with before, who had a Jeskai version that he had put shocks in, and I became interested in that list. But in that list, there were planeswalkers like Kazmina and Dovin, um, and no ops or there were a few number of spell pierces. I think we started off with one
You're
and
at
no
three
mock
now.
tempers. Yeah, so basically, it had a lot of good ideas, but I wanted to take it a step further. And it wasn't until Thursday night when I saw the MTG Goldfish list that verified a lot of my ideas. I saw a list that had Saheeli's, and then I saw a list that had one Karn and the opt package. So I decided to combine everything that I had learned from all these different sources, and I came up with this package, which allowed me to maximize on Sahili and Karn, and have a bunch of leftover things, so I could
Mm-hmm.
deal with cards like Elder Spell without too much trouble.
Okay. I'm noticing in looking at your spells list, you have, as far as like board wipes go, you have a 3-1 split of Deafening Clarions. Why are you not running any hard board wipes such as Cleansing Nova, as opposed to these softer ones?
Well, for this tournament, um, basically the toughness requirement was three. If you look at the mono white deck, if you look at mono red, if you look at any of the wild growth walker shells, it it felt as though Deafening Clarion could clean up all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you couldn't clean up something, as long as you could clean up, 90% of it, the other small percent you could deal with. You could stall with Teferi and Saheeli,
Mm-hmm.
and while and so I felt like for this tournament, Clarion was the perfect board wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Before this tournament, I had already thought to myself, I want to play a Clarion deck because it's so well positioned, and
Absolutely.
it's perfect with Sarkin. Um, they're just best friends,
Yep.
Wipe the board, attack with a bunch of planeswalkers that have four toughness.
Yeah. Um, why the singleton lightning strike?
So that change was actually made by Evan Whitehouse and Abe Corrigan, my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was because um, there's a MPL player. Um, cannot remember his name right now. It's slipping my mind. But
It's okay.
they had seen his list for the same deck and noticed that he was playing strikes and no clarions, and so they wanted to have a card that fit kind of in between clarion and shock, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be also just a cleaner answer to wild growth walker. So they said that they felt like it would be a good addition and that the sideboard could um, afford putting the Clarion in the side. So I trusted them, and I'm glad I did because the Lightning Strike definitely won me a game in the finals.
Yeah, I believe I remember that. Is there, and now obviously you won, so the deck is perfect. But assuming it's not, what are changes that you would make to this moving forward?
Well, this week I've actually just been testing modern, but a lot of people have asked me what I would change. In terms of if we could go back in time and I had to play that tournament all over again, I would play it exactly the same. And the reason why is, even though I board out Mox Amber, the Mox Amber I would say is the weakest card, but it
Mm-hmm.
gives you that explosive nature, which I really needed for this tournament, especially when you're playing against a deck like Mono White, where you need your Saheeli to come into play, um, play a Mox Amber, make a token, cast Ops, Spell Pierce, or Shock, make another token, and you're suddenly ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but moving forward, if there are more like duress dot erasure decks, and I need to play more of a grindy game, I could totally imagine cutting the Mox Ambers for Search for Escantas.
Okay.
Um, that way, we don't get punished as hard for getting duress, dot erasure, and then kind of out of the game. And Search was a card that was in the deck for a very long time until I made this build, and I tested. I had a very positive testing experience with the deck. So I would
Awesome.
yeah, I would try Search.
So, jumping back to more of the team centric questions,
Yep.
Team Lotus Box is spread out all over the country.
Yeah.
How do you think that changes the way that you approach team based testing as opposed to teams that might be centrally located?
Um, we try to jump into a hangout as much as we possibly can. Like
Mm-hmm.
lately, it's been like pretty much every night because a lot of us are racing for the Players Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like close to the end of the season. We have Louisville this weekend, and then the Invitational right after that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are like, I think Abe Corrigan is in first place. After this weekend, I've jumped up to seventh place. Dylan, I think, is in ninth place, and the rest of the team is dispersed in the top 100.
I could look
So
that up actually right now.
yeah,
What? Yeah. Yeah.
um,
So Abe is first, and then
I think
yeah,
Evan is
you're
17th.
seventh.
Yeah,
You Evan. Yes. Or no, Evan is 18th.
18th. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, somewhere.
Jonathan
I,
Hobbs has one more point.
yeah, well, if you look at it, it's a really tight race.
It
So
is.
yeah, I mean the Invitational could easily put me in first place.
Mm-hmm.
So or any of the other people in the top 10. Um, so anything is possible in these last two tournaments. So we've practically been on every single day. But in terms of how how other teams should be testing, um, I mean when we first started Team Lotus Bucks, we would we would be on for oh my god, it was not a healthy amount of hours. I remember I was like on till like 3 o'clock, and then someone like I was on till 3 o'clock, and someone was on till like 6 o'clock, and someone got when someone woke up, they got back on, and we would just be on for like it felt like we were on a hangout for like a week, like
Wow.
almost nonstop. But that was just like the beginning. Nowadays it's more like we'll all hop on around 7 o'clock, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody will be going in and out. Um, it is yeah. I mean, the more you win, the more we all want to be around each other because we can contribute more and learn more all
Mm-hmm.
the time.
Absolutely. Speaking of like locations, you're in North Carolina.
Yep.
You have other members all over the country. Michigan, further out west. I don't know exactly everywhere
So Cats
offhand.
in Michigan, Abe Corrigan's in New York.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, the question I was going to ask is
oh,
how do you think that your local metas influence the way that you build decks individually?
um, for the most part, these days we've been playing online, and when we go to these bigger tournaments, we don't let our local game, uh, local metas shape our decisions for the bigger tournaments, just because people respond so drastically to the results from the week before. Like if you were to look at the lists from all like however many people I played last weekend, everybody had a plan against Monterey because it was in there were two copies in the finals. Actually, my roommate Collins Mullen was in the finals, and everybody had a plan for it. So people drastically respond to these decks. Um, so uh, usually in I would say the biggest thing that I've been learning from like our local metas is when I see like a kid who hasn't been playing that long start to get outstanding results. Um, when they start to uh, like get outstanding results and start winning like PPTQs or regionals or whatever, then I become really interested in maybe some of the ideas that they have, and so sometimes I will check out what some of the ideas that the people have.
Awesome. Last question. Um, Now, Team Lotus Box primarily focuses on the Star City Games tour.
Yep.
Do you have plans, or have you already started moving towards maybe looking at MCQs and the Mythic Championship in general?
So Abe actually lost in the finals of a MCQ um 2 weeks ago. So
Mm-hmm.
and 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago. So he lost twice in the finals. So I never put any restriction on trying to go for the Mythic championship because that's been one of my goals for a very long time. I
Mm-hmm.
did lose like in the past year. I've lost like 4 win-ins for GPs. So carrying the momentum over from the SCG side to the Mythic Championship side is definitely something I, um, what do you call it, push for or
Encourage.
encourage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, obviously, it's not our main goal.
Mm-hmm.
But Wizards actually just hasn't given us an incentive to switch over.
Yeah.
Um, they've been kind of destroying the players club, and
Mm-hmm.
um, people just don't have any idea what's going to happen next season or where they should be going or what points mean.
Yeah.
Um, so until they fix that and give us clear incentive, um, I don't see myself switching over.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. The SCG Tour is basically the face of competitive Magic at this point.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything that you'd like to say to our viewers, wrapping up?
Play standard. It's probably the best it's been since New Phyrexia. It feels really good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming up on my show. My name is Eric Searfoss Miller. Like I said, we have Zan with us today, and thank you all for coming out. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya. Thanks for having me.